Mr. Brian Scalabrine, Celtics analyst for NBC Sports Boston. I can't wait to catch up with Mr. Scals because I know it's been a hard, tough week for the people in the Boston area, especially what happened to the Bruins this past week. And then all of a sudden, the Celtics lose in Game 1 to the 76ers, but they win in Game 2. And Scal, break it down for me. Have people calmed down now in the Boston, New England area?
A little bit. And by the way, good. But when we started out, we were on the come up together over at Fox, and now you're doing your thing, I'm doing my thing. So it's good to catch up again. But yeah, a little bit. I mean, I think we're all. And so, like, I'm an analyst for the Celtics. I'm supposed to know, and I don't really understand the roller coaster ride that this team goes on. But I will tell you this: I'll take that roller coaster ride if I have upper echelon talent. Roller coaster rides are not fun when you're not good. And I've been a part of teams that were really good and we loved them, but they just didn't have that talent to get you, that championship level. And with the championship level comes expectations, and they think that you should be perfect every night. And sometimes I don't know how it works in football, but sometimes when the star player is out and you're preparing for the star player, and that happens, like it could downshift you just a little bit. No doubt Philadelphia was more prepared in Game 1, but I like the adjustments that the Celtics made in Game 2. And most of it was just picking up their ball pressure, getting more deflections, playing that game. Because when you're more talented and you can impose your physical will on somebody, you got to make sure you're doing that. They didn't do it in Game 1. They did it in Game 2. But it's going to be a beast. Game 3 with Embiid hoisting that MVP trophy. Mm-hmm. I don't think there's been a game in Philadelphia for about 10 days, so the fans are going to be ready. It's Boston. It's Philly. These are big-time rivals. So it should be – Friday night should be unbelievable.
What do you think, for the most part, changed from Game 1 to Game 2 in terms of not understanding how the 76ers were going to play without Embiid? I thought you mentioned it. In the NFL, you say that, the team is without their quarterback. Oh, yeah, we got him. And you kind of have this false sense of security that we're just going to be better. The next thing you know, you're in the fourth quarter and you realize, oh, we're in a dogfight. What changed? Was it just the overall game plan, or just this team just felt that they had to take care of business, especially being at home?
Yeah, you know what? A lot of times in the NBA, that you spend – and here's the difference. Like in the regular season, you'll spend 10 minutes, go through some film. Maybe you'll get like an individual clip of how you did against that team or a guy you have to cover, and you go through that. But for the most part, you're kind of focused on yourself. Well, playoffs come around, you get these giant books, and you study and study and study and study. And sometimes there's no doubt that that's a part of it, right? There's no doubt that you have to know, is James Harden going right? What's he going to do when he goes left? What's he going to do? But sometimes you got to throw that out. Like, you have to be able to play hard, get into the body, kind of lose yourself in the competition of the game, as well as in the back of your mind, understand game plan discipline and understand tendencies and stuff like that. I felt like they were so far on one end of that spectrum in Game 1 where they were thinking, okay, well, James Harden, this is what he does. We haven't seen that this year, but this is what he did 5 years ago. Sometimes you just got to go out there and just ball out. Sometimes you just got to go out there and just play and be tough and have a game plan in the back of your mind, but, get deflection. So pressure the ball. Make your pickup points 94 feet as opposed to picking guys up at the three-point line. So sometimes little things like that are effort-based, or cracking back on the weak side, grabbing a rebound, crashing the offensive glass, keeping something alive. Those things right there are big moments in the NBA. So I just felt like they were playing the scouting report, and I felt like in Game 2, they were playing like, we're not going to lose this game. We're going to impose our will on this game.
He's Brian Scalabrine, Celtics analyst for NBC Sports Boston. Also, you can hear him. I know I hear him in the car all the time. SiriusXM NBA radio host. You can follow him on Twitter at Scalabrine. Look, Scal, one thing I do know is that they got a head coach who is only 34 years of age. And so some people may say, is he in over his head in his first time leading a team, leading the Celtics in the playoffs? What have you seen from Joe Mazzula, especially from the first series and the first two games of this series against the 76ers?
All right, I'm not gonna put you on the spot right here.
Please do, Scal. You already know I'm ready.
And I know you love your Warriors. I know you do, but Steve Kerr's an all-time. He's gonna go to the Hall of Fame. I can guarantee you, he goes to the Hall of Fame as a coach. Their staff did not inform Steph Curry that they didn't have any timeouts. Yeah. That is like a catastrophic failure on their part. So,
Wait, but look, hold on, Scal. You don't want to stop you there. Like, look, Steph Curry said it. Hey, we used a challenge. I thought the challenge was a timeout. It was a little gray area there. So I'll give.
Wait, hold on.
I'll give the 4-time champion a little bit.
Yeah, I'm not. No. Let me just give me the floor to explain my.
Here we go, Scal. You've got the floor.
The best of the best, even the best of the best, make mistakes. But every time the best of the best make mistakes, we chalk it up. It's all right. They had 20 assistant coaches there, and none of them informed them. Okay, what about Mike Budenholzer? 0.5. You still have one to burn. They're not going to call that timeout. You're not going to advocate for more time on the clock. You're not going to advocate for Jimmy Butler pushing off on Pat Connaughton. You're just going to let that go? You're just going to let that 0.5 go? So, and Budenholzer won a championship 2 years ago.
Right.
My point is, even the best of the best make mistakes. When every time Joe Mazzula does something, which all kinds of great coaches do, everyone's like, oh, he's too young, he's not ready for the moment. I'm telling you right now, the guy's good, and he's going to be great. He could be great this year. He's learning on the fly. He's making mistakes just like anybody makes mistakes in the playoffs. The only guy I could tell you, I really don't think has made a mistake is Eric Spoelstra. That guy has not made a mistake
the
entire playoffs. But outside of that, guys are going to do that. So I think it's appropriate for any coach in high-stress positions to kind of blow a coverage here or not have your team prepared to go against a team without Joel Embiid. But I tell you what, from game 1 to game 2, he hit all the right buttons. We need to impose our will in this game. So listen, I'm going at you, but really it's a thing up here. No. Everyone sits around and says adjustments.
Right.
So I always look at them and say, their adjustment is always, I wouldn't play the guy who played bad. Well, you got to tell me that beforehand. You know what I mean?
Right.
Anybody can go back and say, oh yeah, he should have played more, he should have played less. But in the moment, you got to make the decision that you think is best for your team. I think personally Joe's doing a great job. I think he's getting kind of a bad rep here, and he doesn't handle the outside media very well because he's kind of short to the point, just gets out. And it's fine when you're Bill Belichick and you got 10 Super Bowls and all that stuff, but it's not fine when you're Joe Mazzula and you're in your first year. And people in media got to get out of their feelings when they don't like a guy, and then all of a sudden they think he's not very good. You can not like a guy and he can be really good. Or you can love a guy and that guy could not be very good. It's just the way it goes. I think Joe's doing a great job and he's getting sort of unfair shake right now with this team, and everyone thinks that this team won the championship last year. They had their ups and downs last year too, and now they're having some this year. Everyone points to Joe Mazzula.
Yeah, no, I understand, Scott. It's okay, man. It's okay, brother.
I know, man. Come on.
I know you're putting up for your guy.
How it is when people are a certain way. Like someone goes back at you on Twitter, now all of a sudden you're mad at the next guy for asking the same question. That's kind of what it is right now with my man Joe Mazzula.
No, I got it, man. Brian Scalabrine is Celtics analyst for NBC Sports Boston. But the one thing I can see in looking at this series now, if Joel Embiid is able to play in Game 3, what changes for the Celtics' approach, you think, for their game plan?
Yeah, so it was really interesting. I thought Doc Rivers really handled that well. A lot of people were saying Embiid shouldn't play. Why are you playing him? You're not going to win this game anyway. But I looked at that game, and I think Doc Rivers looked at it the same way. This is a great game to knock the rust off. You're not going to want Embiid to have 13 days off before he goes and plays and hoists that MVP trophy and all the emotions of that. I thought yesterday was an appropriate way for him to kind of get out there, get his feel back, and I'm expecting Embiid to be dominant. Dudes don't hoist up an MVP trophy and go out there and lay an egg. So I'm expecting a huge game from Embiid, and I'm also expecting Jason Tatum to bounce back. Only 7 points. He's scored in double figures in 160 straight games. That's fourth all time in Celtic history. And last night, just 7 points, got in foul trouble, just one field goal. So I saw something really interesting. PJ Tucker has been stuck to Jason Tatum, but last night in the third quarter, he switched over to guarding Jaylen Brown, who had the hot hand, who really had a great game, maybe one of the greatest games as far as the floor game I've ever seen. So where I'm expecting stars to really show up, I'm expecting Tatum to be big, and I'm expecting Embiid to be big, and I'm expecting a hostile environment. So everyone thinks the Celtics have an advantage. You kind of got to throw it out when, like, the Sixers do have the best player on the floor, even though I believe the Celtics are a better team.
He's Brian Scalabrine. He's also a SiriusXM NBA radio host, and you cover the entire league, not just the Celtics. And, you know, it's been this narrative, and I heard you speaking about this the other day, riding around in my car, just kind of what's going on in Memphis. Obviously, Dillon Brooks has seemed to be the scapegoat of a basketball team that underperformed, right? We expected this Grizzlies team to possibly compete in the conference finals. They didn't make it there. And so everyone's saying it's because of Dillon Brooks, and he poked the bear in LeBron James, and LeBron James basically is going to get him, who's not even on his team, out of Memphis. I know you've been around. You've been in the league. You played for 11 seasons. You won championships and all that stuff. Have you seen something like this to where people are kind of scapegoating one person, but yet it's a lot of deficiencies within that team of why they didn't perform?
No, never. I don't understand why Memphis went down this road. First of all, let's look at it from Memphis' point of view, right? You could use Dillon Brooks as a sign and trade to get something else if you don't want him back.
Right.
Let's look at it from Dillon Brooks' standpoint. You want your own team to want you so you can get as much money as possible. So I don't get it, and I don't get who leaked this. Whoever leaked this does not understand in the NBA and free agency. So I don't know who that is. I don't know if that was Memphis, which I doubt that those guys who run a team don't understand it, and I doubt it's his agent. So I don't know. Like, maybe they had an exit interview, and Dillon Brooks, maybe they just told him like if it came out like this, like, Kirk, if you heard, man, Dillon Brooks wants a bigger role and he wants $25 million next year, you could say, hey, you know what, we ain't paying you $25 million. So
right.
If that's the case, then, you know, like, congratulations. I hope you get paid. I hope you do well. But the way they worded it, or Shams worded it,
right,
said, under no circumstances is Dillon Brooks going to be coming back. That's on no circumstances. So if he signed for a minimum deal, you wouldn't sign him back. Like, it's that bad. So that whole thing is wild. And I don't think Memphis is trying to blame Dillon Brooks. I think what's happening, like, this is just my experience with the NBA. I think they got a young player. I think his name is Zaire Williamson. I'm pretty sure I could be off by that. He went to Stanford. He played with Bronny in high school, and he's a young, up-and-coming player. It might be one of those situations where no matter what happens, Taylor Jenkins is never going to play that young player over Dillon Brooks. So for the organization, maybe they're saying, like, you know what, we need to get rid of Dillon Brooks so we can get let's say Williams has more talent than Brooks. Then all of a sudden you're like, okay, let's go with him instead of Dillon Brooks. We feel like his ceiling is higher. It might take some time, but we have to do that. And I don't know if Danny Ainge did that here. I don't know that, but I know that they had to free up space for Jaylen Brown as a young player. So I thought that Jay Crowder was kind of put into the Kyrie Irving trade for that reason. I could be completely off by this, but it kind of looked like to me that they were trying to, like, open up the door for Jaylen Brown to get more time so he could develop into what he is right now. So there's a lot of that. I don't think they're trying to blame Dillon Brooks, but it just feels like a weird strategy for both sides to have. And this is unprecedented, where you have a guy who's a free agent and teams are saying, like, we don't want you back. It does kind of feel like they're blaming John Morant's situation as Shotgun Willies, or the Steven Adams, Brandon Clark injuries, or just the Memphis kind of, like, you know, they were supposed to be really good, and John Morant saying we're not worried about no one in the West, and all of a sudden now, it's Dillon Brooks' fault. So optically it looks like that, but I think they're trying to open up some space for some younger players to come in and play.
Yeah, my guy Brian Scalabrine, Celtics analyst for NBC Sports Boston. Last one before I get you out of here, because you already told everybody my rooting interest for tonight, the Warriors versus Lakers game 2. You surprised at the game 1 result, or is it kind of the way you thought this series may go back and forth, even with LeBron and AD and this new look Lakers?
Yeah, so here's the challenge with that. Like, I didn't know how this is going to unfold. The Warriors, they could beat you 100 different ways, and same thing with the Lakers. But here's what I would say looking forward, right? So forget about looking back. I can tell you what the Warriors need to do. So, one, Like, Kevon Looney has been excellent, but it allows Anthony Davis to sit in the paint. That's going to be a problem for the Warriors. You saw their points in the paint, only 24. They had to live and die by the three. They could definitely do that. Here's another one that it is a necessity you have to do. Like, you cannot allow LeBron to sit there in the middle of the key and guard and, like, dictate everything. So I'm looking at Andrew Wiggins, and he needs to be way more aggressive.
Yes.
Even like a Draymond Green, he needs to be more aggressive. If you let LeBron chill defensively and call out coverages, you will lose. I've seen it. He doesn't have to be the young athlete that he was back in 2013 for him to call people's coverages out.
Right.
He's one of the smartest basketball players now, if not ever, as far as he knows everything that everyone's going to do, and he knows it on such a high level. So you got to get LeBron engaged, so Wiggins would be the guy, and you got to get him moving around, because if you let him stand there, the Warriors won't win this series. But I think the Warriors know that, and I think Wiggins is going to have a huge night tonight and look for maybe a little less Kevon Looney in different situations to try to get Anthony Davis out of the paint. I love Kevon Looney, love him. But sometimes you need that vertical spacer where you can just drive AD steps up, you throw it up, a guy catches it and dunks it. Kevon Looney is not that guy. And Wiseman was supposed to be that guy. They traded him away. They need that vertical spacer behind them to take that pressure off of, guys driving to the basket and getting their shot over the outstretched arms of Anthony Davis. So that's what I'm looking for going forward. I do think the Warriors will win game 2, though. I think they will make those right adjustments.
Scal, I got smarter today. You know that? You just enlightened me.
Why? What happened?
You just enlightened me. Now I know what to look for tonight when I'm watching the game. You've talked to me off the ledge. It's okay. I'm here in Los Angeles around all these Lakers fans, and everybody's already trying to go raise the 17th banner for the Lakers. So I appreciate it.
Well, listen, if you're banking on Wiggins breaking out of this thing, just because I say it doesn't mean the players can do it.
Right.
They got to do it. You know that, right?
But I know what I'm going to be looking for tonight, so it's all about Wiggins, man. Scal, I appreciate it, man. Great work as always. I look forward to seeing your coverage and also hearing you on NBA radio, man. Appreciate the time, Scal.
All right, Kurt. See ya.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.